Coming up, Harry Potter is taking big business away from Mickey Mouse. Disney's offering cast members a raise. Shaun and Kathy are going to tell us about the new Epcot After Hours event. And we're going to talk about the most overrated and underrated attractions at Walt Disney World. All that coming up next. From the Bob Varley Studio in Orlando, Florida, this is the Diz Unplugged. This is the Diz Unplugged, episode 699 for the week of April 21st, 2014. The Diz Unplugged is brought to you by Dreams Unlimited Travel, experts at helping you plan the perfect Disney vacation. Visit them on the web at www.dreamsunlimitedtravel.com. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show, coming to you live from the Bob Varley Studio in Orlando, Florida. I'm your host, Pete Werner, joined at the table this week by my good friends Sean Thompson, Kathy Whirling, Teresa Eccles, Corey Martin, and back in the production nook, our producer, Dustin West, with associate producer, Craig Williams. Well, welcome to the show. Hope everybody had a great Easter. We had a fun time last Saturday. This past Saturday, we were at the Swan Dolphin doing a live show for Easter. That was different. It was different. Yeah. People seemed to enjoy it. It was a little looser than I would have liked. But, you know.
It was loose.
Got a little sun, too. Yeah.
Loosey-goosey.
We were baking in that sun, but it was fun.
So was Teresa's cake.
My cake. My poor cake.
When I opened that thing and saw the icing all over the place.
I know. How sad.
Tasted good, though.
But did taste delicious.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want to check out that Easter show, it's up on YouTube. But we did not release the audio version of that. But it is up on YouTube if you want to watch it. We'll have a link in the show notes page. DizUnplugged.com, or you can go to youtube.com/WDWinfo and check it out. Also want to let everyone know the Universal show is being broadcast live today, 4:30 p.m.
All right.
Oh, my.
It'll be up on YouTube when? Friday?
Yes, Friday is when we release it. And I also just want to point out that this week we will be starting our new audio feed. So if you're a fan of the show and you're looking for it on the normal Orlando edition RSS feed, it won't be there.
Right.
Yeah.
Will your past shows still be there? Or are y'all taking them off?
I think the past shows will still be there,
yeah.
Okay.
but we will move them all forward to the new feed.
Cool.
With the brand new episode.
So yeah, from now on, if you want to get the Universal show downloaded to your device, whatever it is, you will need to subscribe to that feed separately. I know some people were complaining that we had a Universal show and a Disney feed. Some people were getting like apoplectic. When we do the new shows like that, we let them live on our feed for a little while, let them get started, kind of get rolling, and then they move off into their own feed. That's what we did with the Disneyland show. That's what we did with this show. So everybody just take a breath. It's okay.
You're tainting their Disney? Is that what it was?
Basically, yeah. I mean, you've got to remember there's a lot of Disney fans where, Universal is, the devil. So, and want to let everybody know, if you have an Android phone, right now it's just Android. It will be iPhone very soon. We're just waiting for it to go through the approval process. But we have an app out for our show. So you can go to the Google Play Store and search for Diz Unplugged, download our app, and get the show notes are in there, and the videos, and the audio feed, and Facebook and Twitter, and
honestly, I think it's the coolest thing about it is there's a lot of cool things about it, but the audio feed in general, you can see right when you go to it, it says either Disneyland edition or the Orlando edition, and they're all right there in order, easily accessible, and it's
and next
really
it'll show it'll be updated to show the Universal shows as well.
And it keeps everything in one place, which I love, no matter what, because right now with Facebook and the podcast and the video feed, everything's kind of, Diz Unplugged, you can find everything there, but this is wonderful,
right?
Especially from a phone.
And it's free. It's a free app. So head out to the Google Play Store and download that. And like I said, the iTunes version and the Kindle version. There'll be a version of it for Kindle as well. We're expecting that any day now. There's just been a little back and forth with Apple on some things, but that should be cleared up and good to download soon. So we'll let you know when that comes. But if you have an Android phone, Google Play Store, Diz Unplugged, check it out. And I think that's all I have for housekeeping.
Did Tom send anything for you? Because
Not that I saw.
okay, I can get that in a minute here.
Well, just Disneyland show on Thursdays. If he's not going to get it to me on time, Tom, you're not going to get it to me on time. Doesn't go on my script. See what happens.
Well, this week Tom is got his Disneyland show. Nancy Johnson continues her in-depth look at shopping in the Disneyland Resort, and Tom Bell talks about his trip to Las Vegas using the Megabus.
Oh, Tom on the Megabus.
Yeah,
Scary one.
I want to say I watched the show last week, and doing this show for 8 years, your rant was the best I think I've ever heard.
Oh, thank you.
It was incredible.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was just the points you made were really on point, and I think the feedback you've gotten on that is
Yeah, there was a lot of feedback.
Absolutely correct. Yeah.
There was a lot of feedback on that, but thank you. I appreciate you saying that. Got a lot of good feedback on the comments I made last week about some of the things going on with disabled guests in the parks, and and it just the emails just keep rolling in, the stories just keep rolling in, and it's sad. It's really sad that I but I'm not going to go off on it again.
Yeah.
Go
Just
back and
wanted to
watch.
Mention that.
But anything else for housekeeping?
I have two. Just wanted to mention, Justine asked me to mention again about Coasting for Kids. That's coming up, and the money will benefit Give Kids the World. They've got the East team and the West team. Tom heads up the West team, so we want to see Team East win this year. I'm from the East. I want Team East to win. So they both have it up on their Facebook page, and I feel like people are saying things.
We are. We're talking about you.
Oh, okay.
We're mocking you
And then there's also...
in front of your back.
I got a email on the way over that there's a thread up on the podcast board talking about Rosen is having some kind of event that if you go and like their different Facebook pages, they'll donate $1 to Give Kids the World.
Oh, really?
I think it's
Cool.
Today and tomorrow. So go look on the podcast board, and for every like, they'll donate $1. So go like all their sites, and they'll send a lot of money to Give Kids the World.
Awesome. Cool. Anything else?
That's it.
Anyone else before we give the poll results? All right. Our poll results from last week. We asked you, has the documentary Blackfish changed your perceptions of SeaWorld? 57% of you said nope, it has not done anything to change your perception of SeaWorld and you plan to visit. 17% said that the documentary did not change your view of SeaWorld, but you had no interest in going there anyway. 13% said the documentary did change your perception of SeaWorld, but you would still visit at some point. And 14% said that it changed your opinion, and as a result, you will not visit SeaWorld, which is, that number is fairly close to the number that they reported last week, that their attendance has dropped 13%.
Yeah.
Same people, huh?
So I think that, look, and if the bottom line is if that documentary took a 13% chunk out of their gate attendance, that is devastating. Devastating. I was happy to see that so many people that really weren't affected by it, but that is devastating. Regardless of what you think of the documentary or the whole situation, there's those numbers, the drop in their attendance numbers. If that holds, that's devastating.
Do you think that there's would SeaWorld ever find a group that could do a documentary from their point of view? Do you think they would want to do that, or do they just sort of want to let this die at this point?
I don't know. I think they need to let it die. I think they need to try and just let it die. But I think the damage is done. I think they've been. I'm not going to say they've been mortally wounded, but I think they've been hit a blow. They've been definitely hit a blow. But it is what it is. But 57% of you said the documentary had no impact at all on your plans to visit SeaWorld. So
good.
There's that. We'll have. I forgot to write down the name of the winner. Somebody won. Somebody. And we contacted her already. So congratulations, lady. I think I'm so sorry. I forgot her name, and I forgot to mark it in my script. But we give away a $50 gift card every week. We pick a name at random from the people who answer our poll, and we will have next week's poll at the end of our show.
Yes.
So with that, we're going to move on to the news. The first news story, Disney World is proposing raising the starting wage for cast members to $10 an hour. Currently, starting wage is $8.03 an hour.
Something like that.
Which is actually, I think, about 75 cents above the federal minimum wage. So it is better than minimum wage. They're talking about opening it up or raising it up to $10 over the course of the next 2 years by July of 2016. But they're not. That's not all they're offering. Understand that this is part of the beginning of the contract negotiations, and so Disney's saying, okay, we're going to give you $10 an hour, but for new employees, new cast members coming in, we're not going to put them in our pension plan. Instead, we're going to do a 3% matching on your 401k, which personally I think the 401k is better, but the pension is mandatory. You have to contribute to the pension, whereas 401k isn't. So I think especially when you have so many younger people working at Disney, especially at that level, they're likely just not to.
Contribute. Yeah.
So what do you think? $10 an hour.
I mean, that's going from $8. You said 3 cents.
803 is what it is right now.
803 to 10. So I mean, that would increase their monthly income by $300 roughly. Then I mean that could be substantial for some.
Providing they work a 40-hour week, right? What if they don't work a 40-hour week?
Yeah.
Do they often work 40-hour weeks, or do they keep them under 40?
No, I think it's usually. Well, I mean,
it depends on what type of employee you are. If you're full time or part time.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is across the board. I don't think this would apply to college program, would it?
I don't know.
I have a feeling it wouldn't.
I don't know. I think this is for
pretty much full time.
I guess.
Well, I thought college program made less than what if you would get seasonal or part time or full time.
Yeah.
You make less than they get right off the bat, so they probably still get whatever minimum wage is, and everyone else gets the higher rate. That's just my guess.
It'd still be hard to live on that, though, if that was your sole
Oh, you
income.
can't. I mean, you really
can't live on that.
You can't raise a family on $10 an hour. No. Unfortunately, you can't. But
It's just hard.
I think I think the 401ks are a lot more flexible than pensions. You hear stories all the time about pensions going bust, and after the crash in 2009, a lot of 401ks emptied out. A lot of them have come back, but the 401ks travel with you from job to job. They're portable, whereas the pension isn't. You'll still get the pension when you retire, but you can take your 401k with you. Plus, you also decide how that money gets invested. I think it's a lot more flexible. I think that it's probably saving Disney money moving from a pension plan to a 401k, and that's what they're giving back to the employees in terms of. So the union is saying that we're thrilled with the $10 an hour. Thank you. We'll absolutely take that, but you're not touching the pension plan.
Right. They're hoping to see that get off the table. And it's interesting this time that Disney sort of took the initiative and said, okay, we're going to go to $10 an hour right off the bat, where usually it's the union has to pull money out of Disney. It's like Disney has a new negotiating status this year.
Well, keep in mind that Disney's chief negotiator with the unions just left for Universal.
Oh, okay.
So, it's interesting. It's interesting because normally, Disney is very hardline in their negotiations with the unions. And frankly, the unions at Disney are incredibly weak. I mean, unions in general right now are pretty weak, but I think the ones at Disney have proven to be rather ineffective. We've heard stories. We've heard stories about, the union leaders at Disney. But I don't know. I'm hoping that whatever this is not a protracted battle, that God forbid it doesn't go to a strike, because I grew up in a union house, And I just have a thing. I can't cross a picket line. I can't cross a picket line. Every time I think about that, I hear my father. You're not thinking about crossing a picket line, are you? So, and then, when Disney, I think when they did go on strike years ago.
That was at Disneyland, right?
No, they went on strike here.
Did they?
Really?
They went on strike. It was a short one, if I remember correctly. If I remember, we're going back though. I'm talking about a good 15 years ago. If I remember correctly, either they went on strike or they got really close to going on strike. And even then, I was like, I can't.
Yeah,
I won't go. I won't go into the parks.
That's horrible. I remember my dad picketing. His union went on strike, and it was horrible. It was, I don't know.
And that's
a long
not
time.
And again, that's not necessarily because I'm overly pro-union. But I mean, I am. But just from like I said, my dad and so many members
I'd
of
like
my
to
family.
see Disney take some of the money that they very obviously make and put some of it back towards their cast members.
I think they can
Because-
always spend more on their cast members. But for any company, the single largest expense you have every month, I don't care who you are, is your payroll. Mm-hmm. Now, it's certainly true for us. I think it's true for most companies. And sometimes that's just too attractive. When you've got to cut somewhere, that's an attractive place to look because it's such this, you see this big chunk of money going out. But
It makes people unhappy when they don't get paid a lot, though.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it does.
It's hard to put forth the magic, I would bet, when you're struggling at home.
Yeah. But I don't know. I think it's a bait on the surface, and I'm not going to sit here and say that I've researched this and I know the ins and outs of it. On the surface, Disney is making a good offer here, and it all depends on what the devil's always in the details.
Right.
But whatever it is, I really hope that it doesn't go to that place where they go out and strike. Everybody loses. Everybody loses.
I would hate to see that.
I would hate to see it too.
It is a great thing though for a lot of younger cast members, like after they're done with the college program, if they want to stick around and keep working at Disney. I mean, $10 an hour. If you have 3 roommates and you're all making that much money, you can afford to live in a pretty decent place and have an okay lifestyle. I know it's not ideal for older families that may have kids and stuff, but for people like myself and Dustin and Shaun who decided to work at the parks a little longer, I would have loved $10 an hour. I went from like $6.75 to $7, and then I think I barely made $8 by the time I left.
I didn't even get to that point.
Really?
Really? What were you making?
It's like I came in at like 7 something, and I think I barely made it to 8 and that was only 2 years ago.
Really?
Right.
I don't think I made it to 8. I think I was
Really?
at 7.75 when I was seasonal.
Yeah, I increased my income by finding quarters in the wave pool. That's how I paid for tolls.
But that's kind of sad though, because I can remember when I first got out of college, I was making $3.35 an hour. Of course, it was a few years ago, but the fact that it only went up that far in all that time.
What job did you have?
I worked in a flower shop.
Oh,
But
that's very low. Is that normal?
It was
Well, that
above
was
minimum wage at
back
the time.
in the 1840s.
Yeah.
So
Prohibition,
no, I remember that too. I remember
Oh, you
making like
remember-
$3.50 an hour, and that
Yeah.
was minimum wage.
and
I remember.
and working like a dog and thinking you're making all this money. I was like, no, not really.
Yeah, I mean, look, I've always said it. I don't think you can pay cast members enough. I think that the good ones especially. But I think $10 an hour does make a difference. The president has been very vocal about trying to get businesses to raise it to $10 an hour.
Yeah.
That's what he wants to see the minimum wage at, and some businesses have been doing it. I don't think that's the reasoning behind why Disney's doing it.
I don't think it would hurt, though, if it looks like they were supporting something that the president was looking for.
Right. I don't think any major corporation does that without finding the money somewhere else.
Right.
They're not in the business to lose money. They're not going to do something to lose money unless they absolutely have to. Other than that, and that's why I think that being tied to this pension switch, obviously that's where the money's coming from. But, with that extra $3 an hour, a cast member can decide to take some of that and put it into a 401k if they want to. I think having that choice, choice is better than not having
yeah.
a choice, personally. But, we'll see. We'll see. I have a feeling this is not the last time we're going to be talking about the union negotiation with Disney. It's never goes really overly smooth. And unions in particular, they like to take opportunities, especially with companies like Disney. They bluster, they get press. And that's a good tactic for unions. So we'll see. Moving on, a great article in the Orlando Sentinel yesterday by Jason Garcia talking about how Wizarding World has really impacted Disney. And I was stunned by this. Absolutely stunned. According to the article, Disney's market share has dropped from 74.9% in 2009, the year before Wizarding World opened, to 71.3% in 2012. They lost 3% of their market share. SeaWorld's dropped from 9.1 to 7.9, while Universal's market share grew from 16% to almost 21%.
Wow.
Overall, Universal's attendance rose 7.2%. Now, this is the effect of opening Wizarding World. You know, when you see a 3.5%, almost 4% loss of market share for Disney, that's incredible. You know, we talk about it all the time. You know, Bob Iger had said a few years ago, no more capital investments. We're not building anything else. We're going to stop for a while. We've spent enough money. And then all of a sudden, we're making all these capital investments. And we've said it's because of Wizarding World, but here are the numbers now. Now we know why. Now we know why. They're actually seeing their market share erode, which is something they did not think was going to happen. And I'm going to be honest, I didn't either. So I got to own up here. I was wrong. I thought Wizarding World would be successful, but I did not think Disney would feel this kind of loss.
The thing is, and I think we've talked about it a bit with Universal, is even though the first installment of the Wizarding World of Harry Potter is only a small section of a larger park, it has drawn Disney fans into Universal. You know, usually before that we were seeing two different types of theme park fans, and now there's a crossover because you're bridging. Harry Potter appeals to more family oriented, and it's a huge deal, Harry Potter. So people who are going to spend all their time at Disney are now making that day trip or a couple days over to Universal.
And Universal's helping people cross that bridge with their extremely popular 1 day, 1 park, or 2 day, 2 park ticket with transfers from Disney.
Yeah,
that's extremely aggressive, and they're expanding that now too. To like, we'll provide transportation from Disney, stay a few nights, and we'll bring you back, or you can leave here and go to the airport. So they're really aggressive with getting that the Disney fans.
Like I said, this is the impact that Wizarding World had on Disney. Now we're getting ready to watch Diagon Alley open. And this time, they have got a corporate parent with a lot of money, but more importantly, a lot of support. You know, GE, which owned NBC Universal prior to Comcast taking over majority share, you know, certainly put out the money, but it wasn't the same kind of corporate support. They didn't look at Universal and say, we're going to really bet on this. We really think we can do something here. There was something they inherited when they bought it from Blackstone, I guess, or Vivendi. I forgot which one it was. But when they bought it, they just kind of inherited it. Comcast is really into this. You know, one of their executives said, you know, in the beginning, we've got no place to go but up in terms of our market share. And so they're talking about committing $1.5 to $2 billion over the next 5 years into Universal. That can build an awful lot of hotels and attractions, and this is over and above Diagon Alley, by the way. Yeah. This is not including Diagon Alley. So
I think it could go even bigger than that. I read an article out in Hollywood since Comcast has kind of taken over and really started to push things forward. They're by the time their entire expansion is done, adding the Wizarding World to Hollywood, a couple updates to the backlot tour, including making a night version of it, 70% of that park is going to be completely revitalized. And that's nuts. That's like taking everything but like one land in the Magic Kingdom and completely changing it and updating it, which, I mean, that's in Hollywood, and that park's not as big. But if Comcast is willing to do that out there, you have to imagine what they're willing to do here. It's going to be even bigger, I'm guessing.
Well, what goes through my head is we kind of know what Comcast is going to do here. The question is, what is Disney going to do?
Right.
We see that based on 3.5% drop in market share. We've got Avatar Land. We've got a lot of the things that happened in New Fantasyland. So with Diagon Alley opening, and I'm telling you, they're going to look at more market share bleed because, again, like I said, this time they have a corporate parent. Universal is a corporate parent that's going to put the money into getting people there, into making sure they get the most out of this investment as that they can. So, I mean, if this is any indication, Disney could look at another 3 or 4 points. They could lose. Could you imagine if Disney dropped below 70% market share in this town?
Do you think that Disney, that's part of the whole Magic Band thing, that they realize that they're slipping over here? So by having the Magic Bands over here, they're picking up some of that money that they're losing?
Well, I think part of the Magic Band initiative, the My Disney Experience initiative, was definitely to get more money out of fewer people on some level. That it is about streamlining, your operation to ultimately get more money. And there is a business model for that. SeaWorld has it. Universal has it. Fewer people in your parks, more money on your bottom line. And so, I mean, because Disney, even in spite of this drop, Disney is still posting record profits and record attendance. Mm-hmm. But it was funny because in the early days with Wizarding World, when it was getting ready to open, Disney executives said, anything that brings more people to Orlando benefits us,
right?
Because we're the biggest in town. Well, guess what? Not so much.
I just hope Disney, not like directly reacts to it, but realizes that they've got to up their game.
I think they need to directly react to it. I think the answer for Disney is Star Wars. I really do. And I'm not that big of a fan of Star Wars. But I think the only thing that can even compare to that kind of fan base and that kind of intellectual property is Star Wars. I think but they need to act fast, I think. I mean, it's got to be... This is going to take a while to build even a land or a park
and
that's devoted to Star Wars.
They have ideas kicking around, I'm sure, about a Star Wars themed area or whatever, but I don't, like you said, they have to act fast, and I don't think they're acting in a way that is in response to Harry Potter. I think they're just acting in a way of, we acquired Star Wars, so we're going to eventually do something with it.
But don't you see that that's kind of the only solution that will take some of those people back?
I think you're absolutely right. It's the only big ticket name that they have that can compete with Harry Potter.
I mean, even Cars Land wouldn't even put a dent in that audience.
Right.
Well, there's also Marvel. Don't underestimate Marvel. But there is one thing that Disney has that Universal does not right now, and that's land. Mm-hmm. Universal had a lot more land than they do right now, and they sold it back in the early 2000s because they had to. They were. And if I remember correctly, and don't quote me on this, but if I remember correctly, there was enough land to build 2 additional theme parks and about 4 or 5, maybe even more hotels.
Wow.
So there was a lot of land pushing down toward International Drive that they own that they sold. Disney doesn't have that problem. They still have a lot of undeveloped land that they can tap into. So, it's interesting, Shaun, that you say, creating another land or even another theme park. One of the things Disney could do if they wanted to do a 1-2 punch and really make an impact, a fifth gate, which Bob Iger has said repeatedly is not going to happen. But you got to wonder how much more market share are they going to let Universal take?
Right.
Before they realize that, Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, New Fantasyland, is not going to counter this. Avatar, we have to wait to see what Avatar Land becomes. I'm excited about it, but I believe I am the only person that is excited about
We're
it.
definitely in the minority.
Most people, that announcement was met with a thud. So it's not going to. I just don't see it.
Avatar is not Harry Potter. It just isn't.
No.
No, it isn't.
It's going to be great. I'm just like you. I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited.
You know what?
About it.
And anybody that's going to underestimate the creative abilities of James Cameron and Joe Rohde working together on a project. Come on. This is why I'm saying, look, in my mind, what I can see right now, Avatar Land, okay, 6 to 5 and pick them. You can go either way. But then I think, wait, James Cameron and Joe Rohde. Okay, that's pretty significant. Absolutely the best theme park designer in the world in Joe Rohde, and probably one of the most brilliant creative minds in terms of filmmaking and storytelling.
Certainly the most successful.
And certainly the most successful in James Cameron. That cannot be underestimated, but do I think it's going to take market share away? It all depends. It all depends on when the next Avatar movie comes out and how successful it is. If it matches the success of the last one and Disney can capitalize on that, it might help.
But it's also taking them a lot longer to bring it to fruition, where Universal, boy, it's like they no sooner announced it and there's their new attraction.
Well, that's the other thing. You're absolutely right. That Universal is, they are building these things at the speed of light, and seemingly Disney is dragging its heels.
And they use the same exact construction company, too.
Well, it's all a matter of how much you're going to spend to get it up fast. But I thought, and unfortunately, we reached out to Jason to join us today, but he had other commitments this morning. Comcast earnings call being one of them. So that should be interesting. But, it's at the end of the day, we win with this. I'm not rooting for one side to win and one side to lose. We, as the people who visit, the theme park visitors, the fans, we're the ones who benefit from this ultimately. It is kind of fun to get the popcorn out and watch this go on, especially for someone like me who just kind of geeks out on this stuff. But I think that we're looking at, we're really looking at the Clash of the Titans here. Universal is, in it to win it, so to speak. And the money's there. The willingness to push this is there. And
you sort of see Disney sort of like sitting back like, well, hey, youngster, I ruled this town. And right? At least in my head, okay. But, it's like Disney's there, hey, this is our
Disney's
town.
an old man.
There is an institutional arrogance at Disney along those lines, no question about it. Some of that changed after the crash in 2009, and we saw it clearly. But in terms of how they're responding to Harry Potter, I think some of that institutional arrogance is still there. This is going to fall to whoever it is that replaces Bob Iger to change the direction of things. I think Bob Iger has done a great job. He's acquired a lot of really cool properties for Disney. He walked in the door acquiring Pixar. He's acquired Lucasfilms. He's acquired Marvel. Those are, any one of those makes a career. 3 of them, that's pretty impressive.
Bob Iger's a shopaholic.
He really is. He's got a really good credit card. But he's also done things with these. Look what he's done with Pixar.
Yeah.
Look what's happened as a result.
Whoever
how
steps
successful
in,
that's
though, whoever steps in, they need to work out a deal with Universal and say, Universal take all the comic books from Marvel and keep, you can keep using your licensing on that. But Disney needs to find a way to get actual Marvel movies into the Florida parks. I know that right now they're not allowed to do that.
Well, they're not allowed to do it with the existing properties being used by Universal because they have a right to that in perpetuity.
Exactly.
But,
the cinematic universe that they build up, though, with Marvel, it's getting ridiculous. The Avengers, one of the biggest movies to ever open up. Captain America 2's blowing up. There's just so much hype. Like at D23, when we learned about the lineup, they actually spent more time talking about Marvel movies than even Disney movies that are coming out. they got to start really focusing on finding a way to get them into the parks. That's big. I know Star Wars can be big too, but people are shifting. They love superheroes now, and they love comic books even more. And it's kind of with the whole nerd revolution thing. It's becoming cool now.
Yeah, it is.
Nerd revolution.
I take nothing away from that, and I agree with you. I think they do need to do those things. They do need to leverage Marvel. They do need to leverage Star Wars. They need to leverage those things. But at the same time, they've got to make sure they balance with what got them here.
Yeah.
Right. Those external properties are all well and good, but we do love that Disney magic, and we love those classic characters, and we want them to continue making those films and those attractions in that style they've always done. But like you're saying, they can use this stuff to help create competition and create new things, but not get overboard. And I agree with you on that.
And you know, I want them to be aggressive, and I want them to, respond. But at the same time, I don't want them to throw the baby out with the bathwater either. And if they get, you get into a panic over something, it's easy to make that kind of decision. So, it's not an easy job to figure out how to do that, and I don't envy the people that have to make those judgment calls because, I make a mistake, it costs a couple $1,000. They make a mistake, it costs a couple billion. So I can't wrap my head around that entirely. But it's very interesting to see this play out. And I did have to go on the record this week and say I was wrong. I said that I didn't think they were going to take market share from Disney. And they did. And I was wrong. And I admit it.
Very good.
There it is. All right. That is going to do it for the news this week. We are going to move on to Caption This. And this lovely picture of my inimitable fatness was taken at the Main Street barbershop, getting my hair cut. I had never done it, and I wanted to do it.
Oh,
Did this
really?
about a month and a half ago. And so this
Is
is
this
your
candid or is it posed?
What's that?
Is it candid or is it posed?
No, it was posed.
Okay.
It was posed.
I want to see the picture after they put the sprinkles in your hair.
No, I wouldn't let them put the sprinkles in my hair. But I wanted to have the experience. I wanted to have, I just heard about the Main Street barbershop, and I like flat tops, and there aren't many places you can get them done, and they're actually really difficult to do. Apparently, I mean most people who cut hair can't do a flat top. So barbershops,
Yeah, one wrong move, it's not flat.
Yeah, right. Barbershops in general, usually a barbershop can do it. So I tried it, and it was a good haircut. It wasn't my best. It wasn't the best one I ever had. There's a guy that I use here in town that.
But you're also getting it done in Disney World, which is
in
awesome.
Disney World, and it was a great experience. But for those listening, the picture is of me and my chins getting my hair cut, what's left of it, at the Main Street barbershop. So that's our caption. This photo will be posted on Facebook later today, and you can add your captions, and we will share them with you next week. We didn't do a caption this last week, so did anybody get a chance to check out that EpcotLegacy.com website?
It's so cool.
It's a really cool website. If you haven't checked it out, EpcotLegacy.com. We talked about it last week. Please go out and visit them. I don't know this person. I have no relationship with that website at all, other than I think it's a really, really cool website. And, I have one of those, so I know from which I speak. So go there. Now. Well, not now. We want to keep watching.
Yeah, don't leave.
All right, so we're going to move on to Rapid Fire. And who am I starting with, Dustin? Corey? Mm-hmm. I'm starting with Corey.
Cool. I have the dates for Gay Days 2014. This isn't an official Disney event, so I'm just going to give you the dates for it. Thursday, June 5th, is Animal Kingdom. Friday, June 6th, is Disney Hollywood Studios. This also falls during Star Wars weekends, so if you're visiting. The Saturday, June 7th, is the Magic Kingdom, which I think is the biggest party, I heard. And then Sunday, June 8th, is Epcot. So if you want to go or you want to avoid it, those are the dates.
I'm not going to say anything.
It's too bad it's conflicting with Star Wars weekends. How would you choose?
I'm not going to say anything. I get in trouble every time I talk about this. I don't think Gay Days has any business in the Magic Kingdom personally, but that's a gay man saying that. That's just my opinion. There are reasons go read about it on the website.
Yeah, whether you gay or straight, those are the dates.
But exactly, you know what? And just from a crowd perspective,
Yeah.
it is a good idea to know what the targeted park is that day to avoid it, because it does raise crowd levels, period. And the Magic Kingdom on that Saturday is a madhouse. It is absolutely insane.
But it's also sort of like, I've gone the last, I don't know how many years, but it's more like a party kind of a thing. You know, that people are like happy to be there. It's like there's a whole different attitude in the park that day. So it may be more crowded, but
It's fun.
yeah, I've had fun.
I may go this year.
I think you'll find it different than when they first started doing it.
And, you know, it's one of those things, because I haven't been for a while. So maybe I should go this year.
I think that's a good idea.
Red is the color, right? Red's the color.
Red is
We're
the
going to take Craig and Dustin and put them in thongs
red thongs.
and make them go through the Magic Kingdom. We're going to put a big red shirt on Craig that says "I like men."
It's probably why people don't like it.
So, all right, thank you, Corey. Kathy.
I just wanted to mention there's some new rehabs, or they've changed the dates. The People Mover was up, it was going to close like the first part of May. Now they've pushed it back until, let's find the date, 6/2 to 8/4, and the Astro Orbiter, which is above it, is closed from 6/2 to 9/19.
All summer. Mm-hmm. When it's hot, you can't get on the People Mover.
Yeah, they've been pushing it back. This is like the third time they've.
I wonder
Piece of
why.
crap. That's horrible.
I don't know. I mean, it must be a
It's
big
the
deal.
only attraction in the Magic Kingdom that does not require a FastPass.
I know.
Yeah.
And it cools you off. you
I
know.
love the People Mover. I do.
Yes.
I absolutely love the People Mover.
Well, I hope this time when they do it, the last time, usually when it goes down for a while and it comes back and you're there, oh, what did they do? And you look and the seats still need like painted.
Yeah.
Like,
What did
other
they
than
do?
just, yeah, what did they do? Did they just park it somewhere for a couple months and maybe
Shine
you know,
the track out.
Yeah.
What the heck?
So I don't know what they're going to do. And Carousel Progress is going to be down in August, towards the end of August, but only for like 2 weeks.
Maybe they'll replace that speaker.
Yeah, it could be. But this is the time of the year that now usually there's not a lot of rehabs. So this is,
But they're picking
know.
the good stuff. Well, what's
Yeah.
the point? I won't even go this summer. Just bump me in. Wait till fall.
so that's mine. Just check we have a list I update every week with the rehabs. So just check it out before you come down and realize that dates can shift. You know, this could all change again. So who knows?
Keep on top of it. Mm-hmm. Got to keep on top of it. Thank you, Kathy. Wondered why it was getting warm in here. I know I turned the air conditioning down, but I've recently gone. I don't know if people can see that.
Yeah.
Recently gone to the Nest thermostats.
Okay.
And I guess because we've all been sitting in here for a certain amount of time, it thinks that there's nobody in the house. So it shut the air conditioning off.
Oh, wow.
I just had to override it. That's a cool feature when you're actually not in the house, but when you are in the house,
Yeah.
not so much.
Does it
So
turn
some-
off when you're sleeping?
It can.
That's a bad feature.
Yeah, that's a bad feature.
That's a bug.
But I see. I don't know because I have two thermostats in the house. I have one in the dining room, one in the bedroom, and the one in the bedroom, no, it hasn't. It hasn't done that.
Okay.
So it must. But then again, I'm a kind of fitful sleeper, so you know it might be like sensing my emotion and it's watching
You're
you
flailing about.
So
flailing about.
maybe throughout the podcast, somebody needs to get up and run through the house.
Run through the house.
We'll make that your job, Kath.
You're closest to the
thanks.
door.
All right, Teresa.
Guests at the Walt Disney World Swan and Dolphin can now make their FastPass and reservations up to 60 days in advance. So that's pretty
That's a big
cool.
ad.
That's a big ad. Yeah, I like this. It should have been there, but now it is. So,
Well, it's being slowly
know,
rolled
I know.
out. So
but that's fast. I'm done.
if you're the Swan and Dolphin, you get to use Magic Bands.
And they've
That's awesome.
yeah, and like you said, they have been rolling it out. We've seen cast members out by like the ticket, the international gateway that would stand there with like Swan and Dolphin information to help you and stuff like that. So they it's been a process, but they're getting it done.
Yeah,
Bit by bit,
cool.
inch by inch.
Thank you, Teresa. Jonathan, or excuse me, Shaun.
Shaun. Before I do my real one, I just want to mention that it's the 50th anniversary of the 1964 New York's World's Fair. And so on the Disney Parks blog, they have a whole thing about the anniversary and the header image. It looks really good. They have different artwork and stuff from the 1964 World's Fair. So Carousel of Progress is the anniversary, and it's a small world. Both
I
of those
remember
are
that
very
World's
cool.
Fair.
Every time I hear about the 64 World's Fair, my mother was pregnant with me for the 64 World's Fair and rode Small World.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
So it's like a thing that Mom and I have to do, which I think is really cool. It's a thing Mom and I have to do. Every time we're in the Magic Kingdom, we ride Small World together.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
Oh, no, she's going to start
That's so
crying.
It really is easy.
I was pregnant with you riding Small World in the
That's
1964
just so
World's Fair.
sweet. Okay, I'm done.
So yeah, it makes sense if that's turning 50. So am I. So,
Yeah.
Wow.
All right.
You are sobbing.
I am. It just attached to me.
Doesn't take much.
All right, so my real one, Jake's Beer Festival at the Royal Pacific Resort. So
Now
Jake's,
we get to the serious
the
stuff.
real one, the beer. Jake's American Bar actually is the name of the restaurant. They're hosting a beer festival on May 2nd at 6 p.m. at Royal Pacific Resort. Tickets are $35, $45 for VIP access, which gets you access to a special keg tapping and an additional premium beer tasting. Tickets include complimentary self-parking or $5 valet. And so basically they'll have samplings from more than 50 beers from a selection of popular breweries, including Dogfish Head, Sierra Nevada, Traveler Beer Company, Lagunitas, Anchor Brewing, Angry Orchard, Boston Beer, New Belgium, which is exciting, and more. So
New Belgium, which is
Yes,
exciting.
please.
I love New Belgium. That's one of my favorites. So.
Yeah, these guys, especially you three, Dustin, Shaun, and Craig, are what I would consider, beer aficionados. I mean, they approach beer much the way wine drinkers would approach.
Corey's in the mix there too.
I would count myself in that.
Yeah, but I think you're definitely more.
Wine.
Aren't you more wine?
I consider myself all around.
Yeah, so did I, and I went to rehab. But I'll tell you, anyway, I don't know from beer, but because I never drank it, I hated beer. If you're gonna get drunk, why are you drinking beer? Drink the hard stuff. Gets the
There are
job
some
done.
hard beers, though.
Yeah, not harder than vodka. But anyway, the food at Jake's is very good.
Yeah, it is.
I've always had good experiences there.
Yeah.
There we go.
And what are the dates on this?
This is just May 2nd at 6 p.m.
Yeah.
So it's only one day.
One
I would
day
love to do this. I
only.
don't think I'm going to be able to because of our press event at Magic Kingdom. Yeah. But I hope hopefully they do another one because I think it's a good price, $35 for
All you can
all the
drink?
stuff. All you can drink.
Yeah, it always seems that whenever this is going on, there's like something else happening.
Because they do the dinners too. That's another thing that they do. So this is, I think, their first festival where it's just a whole bunch of samplings and tastings. So
All right.
Sounds
hopefully
festive.
someday.
Thank you, Shaun. Gregory.
Well, I don't have a slide for mine. I was just going to announce, if you didn't already know, that the registration's open for the marathon. The Dopey Challenge and the Goofy's Race and Half Challenge, the Marathon, Half Marathon. It's filling up really, really quickly. Like the Dopey Challenge was at 80% as of an hour ago. I don't know what. So that's crazy. Half Marathon's already 50% full. 10K 70% full. 5K 60% full. So basically, yeah,
When
everything's
did
filling
it
up.
open?
This morning.
It's open to annual pass holders and stuff like a
Yeah.
week ago.
Yeah, it opened up on the 14th, I believe, to annual pass holders, and then everyone else had opened up this morning. So it's chugging. If you can still sign up, Dopey Challenge right now, it's
chugging.
it's $530, so $530. The race and a half is $360. The marathon itself is $170. Half marathons also $170. The 10K is $105, and the 5K is $60, and it goes up. if you
Repeat that
don't
back,
do it.
everybody.
Oh my lord!
Mike and Chad just said Dopey's at 96% right now.
Yeah, so it's going to be gone in probably the next next hour.
How many people were you talking to fill it up?
They limit it. I think the
Yeah.
Dopey's what it.
Because they also run the other races too, so they don't want to fill it all up with Dopey challenges, and then no one can sign up for like the regular marathon or the half marathon. So I don't know the exact
We're
numbers. I don't
talking
think
thousands of people, though.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
thousands and thousands and thousands.
At 500 something a piece for some of them.
Yeah. Wow. It's just diehard racers. That's what they
it's
do.
very popular and very successful. So
Well, I'm signed up for the 5K, so if any of the listeners want to walk, run,
Is that
whatever
like
it
an
is,
early morning thing?
yeah,
cool.
see me, we'll walk it together.
Take a picture.
All right. Thank you, Craig.
Wow.
Oh, thank
Dustin.
you.
Yeah, I have a link from the Disney Parks blog, and we'll have it in our show notes page, kind of showcasing some of the merchandise events that are coming out this May. Highlights include the Vera Bradley brunch that we had talked about on an earlier show on May 4th to release their new line. The artist who is responsible for the Precious Moment dolls, I don't know if you guys know those, that's Linda Rick, will be at Once Upon a Toy May 8th through the 12th, and will debut her collection inspired by Cinderella. And David Doss will be appearing daily between May 10th and 20th at the Art of Disney in downtown Disney Marketplace. I know he's very
Another one of my
popular.
favorites, yeah.
Yeah, he's really good.
And lastly, May 17th through the 18th, Dana and Melanie Harvey, who do the Harvey's seatbelt style bags.
Oh, okay.
They're going to have a new Disney line coming out, and it'll be in Uptown Jewelers in the Magic Kingdom, and it will be in Summer Lace at Disney's Grand Floridian Resort. So that comes out. They're going to have special collections released at certain times on May 17th through the 18th. So you can check that link at disunplugged.com and all the merchandise and art information for May 2014.
Awesome. Thank you very much. All right, that'll do it for Rapid Fire. And I want to talk to Shaun and Kathy, because we sent them to do the new Epcot After Hours event going on over at Hollywood Studios. No, kidding. So tell me about it. What was it like? And well, explain what it is first. And
So basically, the full title is Epcot After Hours Wind Down. So it's a long title. And basically, what it is you purchase a ticket. The cost is $35 per person. Tax and gratuity are not included. And what you do is you get to choose one of 4 lounges. So the Cava del Tequila in Mexico Pavilion, Rose and Crown in the United Kingdom, Spice Road Table in Morocco, Tutto Gusto in Italy, which is actually where we went. So you call and just make a reservation. You don't pay in advance for this. You just call and kind of reserve your spot for it.
I was able to make it online too. So.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
you can make it online.
It can be made online.
Actually at DisneyWorld.com/spring. And then you tell them which of these restaurants you want to go to. And then so basically you meet there at 9:20, essentially after Illuminations is over. So they give you kind of like time to watch the fireworks, and then as soon as that's over, then you meet at your lounge. And then you're allowed to stay there, drink your wine, whatever drinks you get with your sampler. We'll talk about that more. And up until 11. So you get to be there for about an hour and a half after park close. Do you want to talk about a little bit more about Tutto Gusto, where we were?
Well, when we went the first night. So I think there was, maybe three tables of people for this.
Yeah, it was really
wasn't
empty.
very crowded.
People didn't know about it.
Yeah, and it was funny because they sat us right next to another table where we could have had, the other half of the
I never
area.
understand why they do that.
No.
Yeah. And we had a really great waitress, I thought, and
Her name was Barbara. She was
Yes. She was-
Italian and funny.
She was great. Leading up to this, they hadn't released all the menus. So it was a little hard to decide which one you want to go to because you didn't know what they were going to have. But we were pleasantly surprised to find out that we had 6 different choices of like the wines or the bubblies, as they called them, and the food choices. So there was 3 of us there, so we all picked something different. And I was pleasantly surprised. I got the dessert. You know how usually they say they suck the flavor out of the desserts? I thought these desserts were really good. And the wine, I don't know, how much would you say you got?
I think you got
each
about
one?
a 3-ounce pour. It wasn't huge, but you got 3 different ones.
With the option to buy more, I'm sure.
Yeah, so you chose one of the $35 combinations, and then afterwards you were allowed to buy drinks a la carte and whatever was in the Italian like food case. So they had like prosciutto in there, desserts. You could order that stuff a la carte too. But I was surprised that there were 6 different options. I expected, a red version, a white version, and maybe like a champagne version, like a sparkling one. But then we turned it over, and there was 3 more. So there were 6 total. And they had anything between like vegetarian. They had like kind of like a meat one that they served with the red wine. That's the one I got, and it came with prosciutto, a brie, like a soft cheese, and then salami. And then it came with the 3 red wines, which I thought was it was a healthy portion of food too. I thought it was a big size plate.
Yeah, you and Katie both got like a nice size plate of stuff. Where my desserts, it was like 3 little
They were
shot
in
glasses.
cups, yeah.
And for $35, I don't know that it was worth it for that. The experience was well worth the money.
I mean, there is something to be said just being in a theme park that's relatively empty as you're walking out.
We had a
Yes.
bad example of that because our night was actually extra magic hours, so the park had people in it anyway up until 11.
Oh, really?
But the good thing we did learn is as soon as you check in, they give you a wristband, and that allows you to go outside either to take a smoke break, use the restroom outside, or if it's an EMH night, you can go ride the rides and then come back. So that was a nice.
Oh,
feature, I
wow.
thought.
Now, I'm just wondering how. Well,
So even if you're not a resort guest, obviously.
No, I believe you still had to have your resort ID
Oh, I see. Okay.
if you had the ability to
I
ride
see
the
what you're saying.
attractions. You were
Okay,
allowed
right,
outside
all
of the
right. I
lounge.
misunderstood.
Yeah.
now I'm just wondering, and I know you didn't have an example of this on your night because it was extra magic hours, but I would imagine 2 hours after the park closes, they're gonna keep things, show ready for everything. It's not gonna.
Yeah, they're not going to start bringing.
There's not going to be pickup trucks or
Yeah.
cherry pickers
Bringing
out
the gators.
Yeah.
But when we left, the parking lot was pretty deserted. I mean, I don't ever remember going to Epcot and seeing so few cars in the parking lot.
No, even though it was EMH, it was pretty dead
Yeah.
when we were leaving the park.
Yeah. And it's nice to walk out of Epcot because usually when I walk out of Epcot, it's right after Illuminations, and you do the little shuffle
Yes.
Oh,
all
yeah.
the way through Future World.
Yeah, exactly.
And it was nice, too, because, I mean, I've seen Illuminations how many times, but it was really nice to sort of
I
start
don't know
off.
how many.
I've lost count. But, just to do that and then walk over to Italy and know that I was walking over and sitting down, and enjoying Shaun's company rather than trying to shuffle my way out the front.
Rather than not enjoying Shaun's company.
It was a good night.
But was it worth $35?
So here's what I
Hang
kind
on,
of wrote
Shaun.
down. So I said the wine would probably be worth about $12. Then the food portion I could see easily paying, I don't know, $13 to $14 as an appetizer or something. So that already is getting close to $30, maybe $28. And then you're paying for the extra just to be in the park for those extra 2 hours. I think it is worth it. Mm-hmm. I really do.
Kathy, you agree?
Oh, most definitely. And just to be able to walk through there with nobody behind you and you could stop and take pictures and the music's still playing. It was a little funny, though, right at 11 o'clock that the cast member came in, with their glow stick or whatever they call that
Get
thing.
out.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, it's time now. So we left before they,
I hope they were a
officially-
little friendlier than that.
I don't know, that one lady looked a little...
She looked a little scary, but
Yeah.
she was nice.
Time.
Yeah.
Okay.
I do want to mention a couple other things, especially about the food. You are allowed to pick and choose. So if you like the wine from one pairing, you're allowed to switch it and get with the dessert. So what I would really recommend, if you're there with multiple people, get different food things and then share them because they also bring smaller plates out. So if you wanted to get the dessert, I would get like the meats and cheeses, then we can kind of share, and then I'll have a little bit of everything. One of my big questions was if you were allowed to go to the other lounges. So if you pay the $35 to go to Tutto Gusto, can I then go to Cava and then order a margarita over there?
After hours drinks around the world.
And the answer was no. Once you choose your place, you're supposed to be confined there, unless they did tell us that you could purchase 2 of them. If you reserved spaces in 2 of them, if you reserved Cava and Tutto
$70.
Gusto, it'd spend $70.
Oh man.
So the bands are different for each place, I guess.
I guess they were. We didn't have the ability to check the other colors, but
You were confined there.
Let me ask you an important question. You had mentioned the ability to purchase additional food and drinks. Were you looking at like the full bar there, or
yeah,
was
everything. It was a
limited?
full menu, so I ended up drinking my wine and then I ordered a beer. They had their draft beer there. So yeah, it was fine. I mean, you could have ordered more food. You could have ordered more wine. I think they also have soft drinks there. We didn't check, but
yeah,
I think
probably.
she brought us water out to
Yeah, they do
drink
because
with her.
there was Stella and she had a soft drink. So, I know
So
that.
I think, though, didn't you get the feeling it's sort of like a work in progress? That
well, this was the first night.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, as this goes on, maybe they'll do something different that maybe for $50 you could get 2 instead of the
Well, that's what I was
70.
saying. I would like to pay more, so maybe raise the price to $50. No, but then have the ability to go to the other 4 places.
Oh, okay.
So, because you're not.
He wasn't. The sentence wasn't ending there.
I
would charge more money, please.
I want more.
charge more money. No, but if I don't think paying $70 for 2 locations is worth it, because you're basically paying that extra premium just to stay in the park, but you've already paid it. But if you raise it to maybe $50, then I would go. Pay that and then be allowed to go to the other places.
But then they also have to provide a lot more like cast members
The
directing
logistics,
traffic,
yeah, getting
and-
people over there.
Yeah.
Was it you that told me, or I when I was doing the research, somebody said that they were supposed to go to one and they didn't have enough people, so they made them go to a different
I don't know
one.
if they made the person go. I saw on Twitter that someone was booked. They booked the Spice Road Table version, and they were the only person that booked it for Spice Road Table.
Well,
So
I can understand that.
I think
meat
that
party.
person ended up going to Kava. So, but I'm not sure if they did that willingly or if they
Dragged
were
them
forced
off.
to move. I can't imagine they would force them.
And I sort of felt bad for our waitress, but the servers in general, because it was like now they're working an extra hour and a half, and there really was only the three of us that.
And that's why you tipped well.
Yeah, we did, but.
So tip is not included. Neither is tax, and they don't accept any discounts like Tables in Wonderland or anything like that. It's just the flat cost.
But you feel it was worth it.
I do,
yeah.
and I would do it again.
And if you went with a bunch of people, I think you'd have a really great time
But you
doing
didn't.
this after. Oh no, I had a really no.
You'd have a much better time if you weren't with Shaun.
No, we had a.
That's what she's saying.
We
I was having a good time. I had my wine, Katie's wine, beers.
we walked out together, and Katie was like 10 minutes behind us because she was stopping to take more pictures. But we had a nice walk. Nobody was there. You didn't have to. It was a great evening.
Is there
I
an
enjoyed it.
age limit? I mean, obviously you don't want Ferris and Finley. I'm not going to pay that price. They should be at home sleeping anyway at that time. But can parents bring their children?
They can. There's no age limit, but I think you have to pay the full cost. I think it's just a flat price per
Should
person.
they give them apple juice?
I don't know how they modify.
Give me their
Yeah,
give me
can I-
Finley's
can I have
wine.
theirs? Yeah, pour 'em in. 9-ounce glasses.
But yeah, I would recommend no children just because of the
Yeah.
atmosphere.
Yeah.
It's very quiet. I know children are fine, but I just think in this environment.
Okay. Well, cool. So thumbs up from you guys. You recommend it. So we'll have a link to the show notes in the show notes page where you can sign up for Epcot After Hours.
And I have a blog going
Wind
up
Down.
later with pictures.
And
So
there we go. Kathy's blog too. All right. Before we close out the show, we have next week's poll, which is kind of simple this week. Do you think $10 an hour is a fair wage? Fair starting wage to pay Disney cast members. Poll's going to go up later on today on our Facebook page, facebook.com/Diz Unplugged. And as we do every week, we will select one person at random from the people who respond to our poll, and that person will win a $50 gift card. So with that, that's going to do it for our show. We hope you enjoyed it. We'll be back with you again next week with another edition of the Diz Unplugged. Thanks for being with us, everybody, and remember, stay out of the damn lakes.